started talking to a dad, and the dad just started pouring out his heart a little bit, and I was really just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what he's going through. And so long story short, after 60 days, after he had been there 60 days, he said, I saw your bike ride. It's a 60-mile bike ride. Now I thought I can raise money and give ride 60 miles for somebody that's giving us 60 days, right? And this family struggled, right? Long story short, that's actually the family I was referring to earlier. They checked out after 160 days out of one of our hospitals with their baby girl, who's phenomenal, and she's one of the most precious little girls you've ever seen. And when they left, there were 40 or 50 folks at the lobby of that hospital that we were all there to celebrate.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Orlando Podcast. Today, I have Clay Osburne, the CEO of the Ronald McDonald House, with me. Super excited to learn more about what he's doing. Clay, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So, Clay, I'm going to start off the same way that I do with everybody else. Why is it that you do what you do?
Wow, what a great question. What a great question to start off with. So, Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Florida obviously has an incredible mission. Our goal is to keep families close during their families' times of greatest need, right? You have a medical crisis going on, and we want to be there for them and partner with them because we believe families that are together, stay together, heal together better, And that's our big mission, obviously, and it's hard to turn down a chance to be a part of that mission, right? Something so much bigger than ourselves, something that impacts thousands of families every year here in Central Florida. Why do I specifically get a part of it? Obviously, the mission is a huge piece of it, but I love being a part of a team of people that really like to invest in others outside of themselves, right? And they get fulfillment, they get that motivation, that inspiration, really to be a part of something bigger than themselves and make a big difference inside of our community and beyond. So for me, to be able to work alongside this team has been an incredible honor, and that's kind of a little bit about why I do what we do here.
That's really cool. So I don't know very much about the Ronald McDonald House Charities, so I'd love to learn some of the specifics about who you guys serve as a charity organization. And I know that you said Central Florida. So are there multiple chapters across the United States, across Florida? Is it a large national organization? Tell me a little bit about some of the structures and then specifically some of the families that you guys serve.
Absolutely. Great question. It's funny when I tell people I work for Ronald McDonald House, like, I've heard of that. I'm like, do you know what we do? They're like, no, and they're trying to figure out what we do. They've heard the name, they've heard the brand. They don't know exactly what we do, and that's okay because that's honestly what we're focusing on. We want to educate people on what we're doing here at Ronald McDonald House Charities. And so to answer your question, globally, there's about 383 houses globally, right? So it's a global organization. We are the local chapter here in Central Florida. So there's 180 or so houses inside of the United States. And then there are 8 chapters inside of the state of Florida, right? So our chapter is a Central Florida chapter, which has about 9 counties right here in Central Florida. And we are actually one of 6 markets in the world that have 3 or more Ronald McDonald houses in our chapter. Because we partner with children's hospitals. And in our city, we have 3 great children's hospitals. We have Arnold Palmer Hospital for children, we have Advent, and we have Nemours, right? And so we have partnered up with those 3 hospitals and literally put our houses on their campus. So not everyone does it that way because sometimes you're in big cities and you have tons of different hospitals and people got to go other places. It's easier to have one big house. But we just felt, our board felt, that it's super important for our houses to be on the campus of the actual hospitals, right? So all of our houses are within 150 steps or a couple hundred yards from door to door. And so what happens if your child has to be in the hospital for a night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, our average stay is actually 12 nights. And so let's just say your child is in the hospital, you need a place to stay. You need food. You need people that care about you and love on you, and because you're not always able to just stay in the hospital. And so we house the families of the children or babies that are actually in the hospital, right? So they don't have to go somewhere far away. And I don't care, depending on if you can afford a really nice hotel. A couple things that hotel is not going to offer you is being right on the campus of the hospital and being steps away from your child. Probably not going to offer you free meals at night and lunch and breakfast as well. And I know that our team is just, they're not going to offer you the compassion necessarily, right? Some hotels are amazing. They're amazing places. But our folks know kind of the situations and the things that parents are going through. And so we show a lot of compassion and comfort inside of our homes. In fact, those are two of our three kind of pillars here at our chapter. We believe in closeness, care, and comfort. And we believe those three things will make a difference to the thousands of families we serve on a yearly basis. So prior to COVID, we were a little over 2,700 families between our three houses, okay, in a year. Like I said, our average night stay is 12 nights. So we have some families that are with us for one night, but we also have families that have been with us a year before, right? There was a family that I just met this summer that left after 160 days, and we got to celebrate that with them, which was pretty remarkable. We have 84 rooms between the three houses, so we can house 84 families on any given night that are going through a medical crisis. And so geographically speaking, 50% of the folks that stay with us are in our 9 counties, right? So this 9-county region of Central Florida, typically a lot of them are not in Orange because they might come back and forth to their home pretty quickly. In fact, Brevard is our largest county of folks that we see, Lake being number 2 and Volusia number 3, of people that actually spend time in our houses. So that's roughly about 50% of our guests. Another 40% are within the state of Florida. Typically, they might have to come here because one of our hospital partners offers something that another hospital doesn't offer, right? And they're able to come be with us there. And then another 10% come from throughout the rest of the world. When I first got here, I met a family that was here from Thailand, right? And they were spending months at one of our hospitals here in town and in one of our houses as well. And so we have them from across the world. You can imagine the amount of people that come to Orlando and flock here for the vacation of their dreams. And sometimes they need a medical partner, unfortunately, right? And so they have to go to a hospital, and then they don't know what they're going to do. And they're thinking, oh, I'm going to spend $250 a night at a hotel and food and this and that. And so that's kind of our cornerstone program, is the Ronald McDonald House itself. We also have a hospitality cart program, which is, we have it in a few hospitals right now, and our goal is to be in all 9 counties, and hospitals in 9 counties that have pediatric services by 2025, hopefully before that. These are hospitality carts that we literally have volunteers that push around the hospitals. You may not have thought you were going to be in the hospital that day, but you need some snacks, you need some diapers, you need something, right? And our hospitality carts are packed with those things that families that are in the hospital can just grab and use at their convenience as our folks wheel that around. We have a lot of volunteers that help us do that. So those are a couple of our main things, our 2 main things that we're doing here right now. So I don't know if that completely answers your question, but it's a pretty good synopsis of who we are and what we're trying to do.
That's really cool. I have more questions about some of the demographics of families. If you guys have like requirements in order for somebody to be able to use a space, obviously you have to have a room open. That would be the first requirement, I assume. But what are some of the other things that folks need to know if they're listening to this and they're just thinking about if they had some sort of an emergency, or if they know somebody that's in a place that they should be aware of as kind of criteria to be able to connect with you guys? And then is there like an application process, or how do they actually get connected?
Great question. So yes, there is an application process. So there are no quote qualifications per se that are hard lined, right? We do have kind of guidelines and requirements that we look at. So you go through the application process. People come in and fill that out online. One of our house managers or assistant managers would then call them, call that family and talk with them about the details as well, and tell them our situation and learn more about them as well. And so, depending on what our vacancy is like, you hit the nail on the head with saying we have to have rooms available. So, assuming we have rooms available, we want people to come, right? If it gets tight, some of those things that we're looking for, one is proximity. Are you within 30 miles of the hospital, right? Or beyond? It's because it's going to be easier for someone from 0 to 30 miles to get to us. We have families that are within 0 to 30 miles that will stay with us. It's not that you can't. It's just that we're going to give priority to the families that are a little farther away. Obviously, the acuity of the situation. What is the family going through? What is the child going through? What's that mean? What's the diagnosis? What are they struggling with? So we look at that as well, and then we do look at socioeconomics a little bit. What are you able to be a part of? Our services, are they going to help you fill a financial need? All those different things come into play. So these are all guidelines, but we hire people that can make decisions and use their judgment, right? And we trust our team to make great judgment decisions. Our heart is compassion, and we want to say yes to anybody and everybody, and that's kind of our huge vision, is that no family would have to not be around their family during a medical crisis, right? During their child in a medical crisis, and so we want to house as many as we can. It's tough because we are kind of like a hotel in some facets, that we have to turn rooms over. So when somebody leaves, we got to clean that room. We have to go through the whole sanitation process, and depending on when that happens, it's tough to say, okay, this person's going to be out now, so we can get this one in. We have to really time it really well as those things are happening. So again, there's no like hard line qualification, because we want to help as many people as we can, but we do have to use guidelines and kind of our best judgment when things come into line, when we start to get full.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What do you guys see as kind of the major benefit for helping those families stay close to the hospital when their child is going through something? Maybe their child is actually having to be admitted to the hospital. What's sort of that big why as to why this was so important and this project was started?
Absolutely. So we're almost 50 years old. Ronald Mcdonald House Charities is almost 50 years old, and it started with Dr. Audrey Evans was kind of the visionary behind it. She partnered with other people, and the Philadelphia Eagles, actually, almost 50 years ago. I said, this is what my patients need. She truly believed that the families needed a place to stay, and they needed to be around their child during the process. So we call it family-centered care, right? It's this idea of family-centered care is a way of saying, okay, when the family's together, they're going to heal better together. Unfortunately, not every story ends well, or ends the way we would want it, right? And imagine if you're not around your family when during that tough time, right? Or when things are going well, you want to be around and be able to celebrate with them and encourage them and be there with them. So that's one big piece of it. We have families that literally have counted the steps from their bedroom, right, to the room of their child and their baby, whoever that might be, right? Because they just want to be there so often. The hospitals have different rules, and depending on the diagnosis, you may not be able to see them at different times as you're going, to and from as well. And so we just really want the families to be as close as they can, right? And you can imagine some families have to, quote, live with us. I know people that have been here for months that were actually from New York. And the family had to start getting jobs down here and started driving Uber and doing some different things that, to help fund it. So that's another big piece, is when you're going through these medical journeys, a lot of times there's a lot of bills that you're facing. There's a lot of financial issues that go on. You may have to quit your job. You may have to move. You may have to do all these different things. And those bills and those things don't just go away, right? So if we can help in the least little bit, to relieve that burden of thinking about, where do I have to stay? How do I have to pay for that and your meals? We just don't think people should have to worry about their meals. You should worry about your child, right? And be around them and trying to help them heal and be there for them, and let some other people take care of it,
Yeah.
Imagine if you've ever, a lot of people that have had their own children sometimes experience people that bring you meals for a week or two, right? When you have a baby, and think about the relief of that just when you've had a baby, right? You're going through that. Now imagine you're in a true medical crisis. You're transplanted off, and the ability to have that meal and burden, it's just a huge burden lifted off of you that you're not having to think about. So we do not want the families to be apart. Imagine if you're a child and your parents are like, "Hey, I have to drive 60 miles away," and you're in the hospital by yourself, right? Just put yourself in those shoes. So that's why we believe it's so important. We just truly believe in this concept of family-centered care, and our tagline, if you will, of keeping families close, because we believe it's gonna aid in the healing process for sure.
Wow. So you mentioned, financial concerns being a part of these kinds of situations a lot of time. Do you guys ask people to contribute do you charge a nightly stay if people can afford it? Or are your guys' services completely free? Is it on a case-by-case basis? Talk to me a little bit about how you cover those costs, because it's not free to run it, obviously. You got to pay staff. I'm sure they do it because they're passionate about it, but nobody can afford to do that for free. So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you guys charge people that are staying with you if they can afford it? Are you guys 100% free? And then we'll talk a little bit about funding and how you get some of that if when you guys do.
Sure. No, absolutely. It's 100% free.
Wow.
So a lot of families do make a donation on their way out. Sometimes that's $5, sometimes that's $500, just kind of depending on what it is. So a lot of families do make donations, but we don't ask for anything in the sense of there's no exchange on our end unless you want to be a part. Yeah, and thankfully you have families that are grateful, right, that want to be a part of that. For us, every dollar counts. It costs us about $105 a night. It's probably actually a little more than that, but using the metrics that we need to use, it's $105 a night per family, right? And so you can imagine, how that quickly that adds up with a family that's staying there, average of 12 nights. So if you're saying that's, close to $1,300 a family for a 12-night stay, we're typically not getting those types of donations. Sometimes it's $10, $20, $30, $50, and we do have some generous people, but a lot of times that's all they have, and they want to give you out of the generosity of their heart because they're so grateful, right? And they're giving you maybe even something they shouldn't be doing, right? Because they don't have the money and they don't know when they're going to go get that next meal, and they're still have so much gratitude, and their heart just says, "I want to be a part and donate back what you gave to us." So, but yeah, we 100% free, 100% free.
Wow. That's incredible. And I did some quick math. You're talking about over $8,500 a night for your operation, assuming every room is full. I can't imagine how you balance that budget. Talk to me a little bit about funding. Where do you guys get funding from? Do you have government funding? Are you 100% just donation driven? Talk to me a little bit about some of that. Hey, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe so you can help us get the word out about these amazing people and businesses here in the Orlando area. Don't miss out on upcoming episodes and help out the show. Now let's get back to it.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking the question. So, we try to run a pretty lean program here, right? And so we try to run it as efficiently and effectively as we can. So if you think our budget is about $3.5 million, give or take, a little bit, in this year, which may sound like a lot to some people, may sound like a little to a lot of people, depending on what when you're thinking 3 big houses, right?
Right.
Thankfully, our 3 houses are paid for. We are debt free as an organization. So if someone chooses to donate to us and be a part of us, they are giving to kind of vision and our mission. They're not giving to repay some debt from something else, right? Lou Ann, who's my predecessor, and the founding board and other McDonald's owner-operators have come in and helped eliminate that and made that possible, which has been fantastic. Not every organization, not-for-profit, is able to say, "Hey, we're debt-free," right? And which is an incredible thing for us to be able to say and experience. With that said, not-for-profit not-for-profits are hoping for a 1 to 2% margin. We're not a typical business that is like, hey, we're going to have a 10 to 30% margin on what we're doing every year. We just want to be in the black. Is really what we want to do. So our mission partner, McDonald's, they have been so faithful and generous over the years. They make up probably 15 to 18% of our budget on any given year. But that's not just through them saying, hey, we're going to be giving all this money. It is through the Roundup program. So let's just say you went to McDonald's and your bill was $3.57. Well, you could round up to $4, right? And that money is coming back to us. Does that make sense? So that's through McDonald's. There's specific bundles and things that you can buy. You can buy a great chicken McNugget bundle for, I think it's $15.99, and 50 cents of that comes back to us for every bundle that's bought. They've run other promotions as well, so they're very generous. And we are just grateful for them. And it's our job to make sure that we have relationships with those stores and those owner-operators who have been so great and faithful to us, and making sure we are faithful to them as well. So that's a part of it. That is kind of a misconception. A lot of people think, oh, McDonald's just funds it because you have this big name, right? And they are very generous, and they are by far our biggest partner. But we still got to raise about another 85% of our budget in any given year. Some of that's done through events and sponsors. We have 6 or 7 events throughout the year that are awesome. We actually have to cancel an event tomorrow. We had our Sporting Clays event. We had 45 teams of 4 people going, but because of the Hurricane Nicole or Tropical Storm Nicole coming through, we had to cancel our event. So when those things happen, it's tough, right? It's tough on us. Our other big event, our Ride and 5K, was the week after Hurricane Ian. So some of these things you're dependent on, and you hope that they'll still function, and you just kind of take steps of faith sometimes. So events, and then individual donations. That's probably our biggest area of growth where we have seen growth. We want to keep seeing that. People can join our Cornerstone program, which is like $1,000 a year as well, and get a lot of things that come with that. And then we have donations from $5, $10, $15. Every dollar counts when you're not for profit. And then when you're one of our size, literally every penny counts. And we are just counting those pennies and trying to be faithful stewards of what people give us. So we need the resources, and obviously with inflation and all these things that are happening, we're just honored if anybody considers being a part of us, right? And I can rest assured when you're giving to someone like us, that dollar is making a big impact each and every night. We do have great things too, like my kids. We started collecting the pop tabs. I remember doing that as a kid, and all those pop tabs off any soda that you drink, you'll collect those and bring them to us. We compile them in any given year. We might be able to turn that into about $10,000 cash for us, depending on how many of those we get. So it's a great way to involve kids in philanthropy and thinking through that way as well, but it's meaningful to us. And our costs are much more than $3.5 million. We have a lot of people that give stuff to us in kind. Snack packs are a big deal. We have people that, a great relationship with Tempur-Pedic, and they give us their beds. And Lazy Boy gives us furniture. And then a lot of times companies come in to help us out as well. And so the last thing I'll say, we will pay for meals. We will make sure the meal is there for them. But we love at night, we just call it our share meal program. So families or companies will come in and actually make the meal for our families that are there. So if we have 30 or 40 people that want a meal that night, we ask them, they check it off. Families or organizations or businesses come in, literally make the meal in one of our kitchens. They're all built kind of like in a home style feel, and they're able to make the meal, prep it. A lot of times the families don't come back from the hospital to 8. If they're not, they can pack their meal up, put it in their cubby in the refrigerator. We have them numbered in their spots, so that family can have that meal when they get back, and then the people clean up. So that's another huge thing for us. And if we don't get it, meaning if the family doesn't do it or an organization doesn't do it, those costs do come on us because we're going to make sure we feed them. So that's another way that people give to us as well. So it's a pretty complex operation a little bit. It gets sneaky deep, as the more you look at it.
Do you guys have a big volunteer base? Do you guys have volunteers that work within the with you guys, or or are most of the people that work with you on staff in some capacity?
Yeah, so on our team, we have about 32, 33 people. 21, 22 of those are full time. The rest are part time. Because we're a 24/7, 365 operation, right? So Thanksgiving and Christmas, we got people working just like other people. On the weekends, we bring in people that are our weekend managers. We have some people that live actually in the houses, but there's no way that those 32 people, 32 of us, can do everything that we need to do. The volunteers are the lifeblood of what we're doing. So anybody that brings in a share meal program, we're considering them volunteers, right? Pre-COVID, we had about 100 volunteers that would come in and help the house on a regular basis in one of our 3 houses, and that's from helping check patients in, guests in, to cleaning, to organizing, to any of those types of things that we potentially need. So we're probably, I don't know the exact number, we're probably half that right now that are on regular basis. And then we have groups that will come in and actually do a day for their business. Like we had Marriott Vacations Worldwide came in and they sent 30 team members. They split them up to the 3 houses, right? And they all washed windows, organized, cleaned, helped in rooms, and did cookies and just things like that. Those things happen regularly, right? And so we have regular volunteers, so probably 40 or 50. But then we need groups all the time coming in, whether it's groups or an individual, to come help us out. We'll find something for you to do, right? This is not we're not a not-for-profit where you go in and you feel like, oh, I'm not doing something that's meaningful. We're going to give you something meaningful because we need all the help we can get, for sure.
All right. So for everybody listening to this, if you're in the Central Florida area and you want something to do that'll feel like you're making an impact, you can contact Clay. He can put you to work helping some families there in their area.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love what you guys are doing, trying to keep families close. I think that's so important. Kids respond much better when they can be in their parents' care, and so just so incredibly important and impactful. So, so glad that we could do this. Is there anything else that I haven't asked about that if somebody's listening and they're getting familiar with what you guys are doing, you feel like would be really important for them to know about either your mission statement or what you guys do or what you guys need?
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. The biggest thing that I want people to do is I want them to know who we are and what we do. We want to educate people on it. So a couple things. The greatest way that you can get educated is we've started a Keeping Families Close tour at our 3 houses. We come in for 45 minutes, just tour the house. Just come in, let one of our team members lead you around the house. You'll hear a couple stories. You may even hear from a family that's in the house at the time, and it takes about 30, 45 minutes, something like that. And hopefully it motivates you and inspires you, but also, if nothing else, it educates you on who we are and exactly what we're doing. And you're able to share that with others, right? We want people to know exactly what Ronald Mcdonald House Charities is doing. And so we would love to share that with you. Come just be in our home. We consider everybody family as it enters our houses, and that's kind of what we're trying to do. So that's one big thing. Contact us or, Casey Flora on my team. She's the one that kind of helps manage all of those. We'd love to have you come in. So just that piece. Know if you ever need something, a place to go serve, we're open for it. Come let us know. We'd love to have you come serve. If you're ever looking for a place to donate, obviously we're very extremely grateful for that too. But it's more about getting you involved. The thing that I love about us that not all charities can say is there's a lot of times there's places where my wife and I can go volunteer, or I can go volunteer. There's not a lot of places where all families can go volunteer, and we're one of those places, right? So if you really want to involve your kids in getting something and them hearing and knowing something about a charity and thinking about bigger than themselves and getting a different perspective on life a little bit, have them come in and volunteer with us. It's kind of a special place for that. My family's done a share meal. We're going to do another one here in a couple of weeks, that Friday after Thanksgiving. And we are just blessed by that. And I love the fact that we can have families come in and serve together. I hear more things from that. And just a couple last things. If you see somebody who works for a not-for-profit, or if they have one of our shirts on here, just tell them thank you, because they are, like you said earlier, they're not doing it. They're not doing it for free, but they're not doing it to get rich either. They're doing it because they love people. They want to help people. They're inspired to give of themselves and be a part of something bigger than themselves. If you see them saying thank you, and then last thing, if you know of anybody who needs our services, right, point them to us. We have a lot of partners inside of our organization as well. So even if let's just say they don't need a place to stay, they need something else or another service, we probably know those people, right? We probably have connections to some of those services that they may need, and we'd love to help. But we just want to be a resource for anybody and everybody that needs us. And we are a community, right? We are a community. We're here to support our community. We want to be the Central Florida's charity of choice and be here for that, because they've given so much to us, and we want to be able to give it back to them. So
Awesome.
that's my spiel.
Awesome. Before we go, and thank you so much for all the time that you've taken to sit down with me. I'd love to hear a story or two about some families that have been impacted, either in your tenure there or that you know of, because I feel like those kinds of stories really help people to connect to the mission. So do you have anything off the top of your head? And we don't have to get into any major details, but would love to hear a story or two about some families that you guys have been able to serve and some of the impact of that.
The question is, how much time do you have? I have plenty of stories, for sure.
Well, give us one, and maybe we'll have you come back and tell more stories at another time.
No, I'll do a quick little snippets of a few. I had a family in here at our house down in Lake Nona by Nemours, a military family down from Alabama, and their daughter has to have periodic things, and they were here for another week or two, and they couldn't get in somewhere else, and they were able to stay with us, and he literally said, "This is an organization when I'm able that I want to be involved in, because of what they've given to me, but what I've seen them do." So that's one family. I met a family the other day who was here. Her daughter, at 12 years old, just something happened, right? And I don't know all the details, but the last 2 or 3 years have not been the same for this family. They've had to be in and out of hospitals, in and out of centers and places. And she was sharing this actually on one of our tours with some of our people that were there. And she said, "Look, somebody asked her, 'Hey, do you get counseling, or do you have people that help you?' And she looked around basically at our team and a couple members of her family, and she said, 'Because my family's together, they're my therapy,' right? And we're talking about keeping families close. Well, they're their own therapy sometimes, right? Or we're their therapy." And she's been in there for weeks and months, actually, at different times. And so we have another story of a guy down at one of our houses is struggling through some different things right now, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be, honestly. But he's gotten to know our house manager, and he calls our house manager his friend. And our house manager actually, over the last several months, has been teaching him how to play the guitar, right? And they just sit down and hang out and play the guitar together, and enjoy life, right? And enjoy the precious moments that they have. And there's not a lot of people that would be able to do that and connect in that way, unless you're living with somebody or someone's there, right, for you. And the last story I'll share with you, I was actually doing the Share a Meal program earlier this summer, and just started talking to a dad, and the dad just started pouring out his heart a little bit, and I was really just like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe what he's going through." And so long story short, after 60 days, after he had been there 60 days, he said, "I saw your bike ride. It's a 60-mile bike ride." Now I thought, I can raise money and ride 60 miles for somebody that's giving us 60 days, right? And this family struggled, right? Long story short, that's actually the family I was referring to earlier. They checked out after 160 days out of one of our hospitals with their baby girl, who's phenomenal, and she's one of the most precious little girls you've ever seen. And when they left, there were 40 or 50 folks at the lobby of that hospital that we were all there to celebrate with them. And you see that your family matters, right? And it's not just that it is your internal family as far as that healing, but you got so much of a greater family that's there to celebrate and support you as well. And those stories just speak volumes to me, and the gratitude that they had. I can tell you when I visited the houses a couple times, I've stayed in the houses because I wanted to experience it. And I got to know families in there, and this other family, she had been there for a long time. One of her other sons had cancer. She had been in the house as well with her other son that had never really left the hospital after a year or two, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And as I was there, I was sitting there talking, they were the ones welcoming me, right? And they were the ones taking pride in the house. They were cleaning the kitchen. They were doing different things. They were cooking. They were overdoing other things. And I was like, these are people and there were two families, and they had bonded over being in the house, right? And being able to support one another. And then I'm sitting there, I'm coming in to I think, bless and help this family. And they're the ones being hospitable to me and blessing me. So they turned the tables on it. So those are snippets of stories. And there's lots of those. There's thousands of those every year. And so that's what you would hear if you came on one of our tours. You'd come hear some of those stories a little bit. We'd love to be able to share them all with you if we could. So hopefully hopefully it gives you a snippet of what we do.
Yeah, awesome. Now I'm going to have to come take a tour with my wife and daughter. So
let's do it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Clay, thank you so much for coming and spending some time and sharing with me and my audience about what you guys are doing. I think it's so impactful. If somebody wants to learn more about how they could get involved or how they could give, or if they need services, what's the best place for them to go and figure out some of that stuff?
I mean, our website is RMHCCF.org. It's Ronald Mcdonald House Charities of Central Florida. So it's RMHCCF.org. That's the easiest place. You can find all of our team member information there. You can apply online. You can find my contact information. We are readily accessible for anybody and everybody for doing it. So I just want to tell you, thank you, Tyler, for hosting us and being willing to do this and share the good things that are happening in our communities. Too often we don't always share all the good things, right? And it's a blessing to be a part of a lot of people that are doing cool things and good things here inside Central Florida. So thanks for helping us get the word out.
Awesome, my pleasure. We'll be sure to put your the address, the website address in the show notes. So for anybody that's listening that wants to check that out, we'll have that in the show notes. So definitely check that out. Once again, I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in to join us today. And thank you again, Clay, for joining with me and sharing what you guys are doing there at the Ronald McDonald House. Sounds like a great thing. And so, all right, thanks again. And we'll see you around Central Florida. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, guys.